What is up on this Malevolent Monday? Boy, what a suck-ass, fart-sucking, shit shoveling motherfucker of a day, let me tell you. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get that all out. But welcome to another edition of Tracks of the Damned here on Monday nights. Where are all our addicts at? Where are you motherfuckers hiding? Oh, there's one. What's up, Kyler?
All right, Kyler.
Glad to have you with us as always. And I'm sure the rest will shuffle in if Facebook didn't fuck up the algorithm.
This is a really important topic for people who are maybe younger because they get to hear two old assholes
Oldish
about what we grew up with. And we have got some amazing albums for you. And we're going to be able to talk about these because we bought a lot of these albums when they came out. We went and saw these shows when these came out. Hell yes. We in the house. Red wine and at least two gummies, Babylon, tonight. Because when he brings that,
why not 2.5?
Yeah, pretty close sometimes. She's pretty funny, but Babylon takes the cake for one-liners.
For schnizzle.
But we have got some amazing albums to share with you. We're not just going down the list. We're going to give you some context from the time these came out, what they meant to metal, and how they have endured over the years.
Abso-fucking-lutely. This is so true. Kyler says, alcohol fixes outside boo-boos and outside boo-boos.
That's what
I mean. That's what I was. As far as I'm concerned, we all need to slap a Band-Aid on for today because it's ass. Hey, what's happening, Cody? He says, I'm here, late, but here.
Hey, Cody, I didn't have a chance to go and catch it live, but I did go and watch it before. And it was really good to hear about Cody's creative process. If you guys haven't, we have them all on YouTube. All you have to do is search Reapers Underground and hit videos, and you can find Cody on there, and he'll talk about his artwork for you.
Mouse Bong chimes in with another Mommy Milkers Monday. Let's go.
Yeah, Mouse Bong.
I love it.
I love hanging out with our regulars. They're here every week for us, and they're a lot of fun. And they know what they're talking about, too.
Y'all make it just so much fun for us as it is for you, listening to us do whack jobs. But, you know, if you did have a bad Monday, keep this in mind.
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do. You'll be a dead son of a bitch, I tell you that.
Yep, I did come up with that 30 minutes before we went live. I was like, we need a new button. So I made one, and I cannot stop laughing. Because, hey, if the Osbournes can laugh, so can we. Only difference is they're rich, we're not.
When our friends check in with us, I always know, what are you up to? Are you drinking bourbon? Are you doing dabs? Are you wine and gummies? You know, what's going on so that we can get through and cap off this Monday night with lots of laughs and some great fucking metal albums.
Absolutely. We have a new viewer tonight. That's awesome. Belka Freakus. Not sure where you're from, but thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you. Goes on to say they filthy rich. Yeah. Give to the needy. You know, can't take it with you. Oh my goodness. There we go. Mousebox says, I'm setting up the dab rig as we speak.
I could
Right.
go for a dab, but I may not get through the show coherently if I do.
You'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll
So what was the name of that shit?
because the first time I came on Reaper's Underground with Reaper, like in between, I lit up my bong, and when we came back, Reaper could tell there was a different hoof beast.
Ah, man, I was frightened. I'm like, this is gonna go one of two ways. Either the crowd's gonna love it, or they're gonna be like, tink, tink, tink. Is this thing on? Yabelka comes to us from an invitation on TikTok. Well, that's awesome.
Great. So that's for me probably, unless you reposted it.
I try to do as much as I fucking can, man. For real.
Awesome.
This is great. Cody says, anyone have a lighter? I'll spark that shit and pass out around after the day I've had. Man. So whoever did you wrong, man, just remember.
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do. You'll be a dead son of a bitch, I tell you that.
This
You
Cody.
tell them that.
Light it up, Cody. You can light it up now.
Well, you know, it's all, I mean, we just love our Addicts of the Damned so much. So there's not even a reason to roll a commercial because that was like way more enjoyable than me, doing the usual spiel. Yabelka is, she says, I'm Dark Souls from Hell 666.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, totally know her. Yeah.
I guess I hurt Mousebong a little bit. She goes, LOL, that sound. And that's exactly why I picked that one. It was either that or bitch, I don't know why you mad. That was another sound. I might come up with a different one that'll knock everybody's socks off. But anyways.
So glad to have everybody. Dark Soul 666 is awesome on there. She supports me
Hell yeah.
all the time on TikTok.
Appreciate that shit.
Really appreciate that. And I do hook my pals up. When my pals hook me up all the time, when my new album comes out and I've got merch and stuff, I hook people up.
Hey, I did the drums this time around. Hopefully I'll get a little something.
Yeah. We're gonna
I'll be a dork. Oh shit. Cody says, I died hearing that shit. Phone was across the room. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, we're going to drop some knowledge on you today. As we do each month, we like to pick a few albums that have stood the test of time. They were groundbreaking of their time for those bands. That, God damn it. Babylon says, ooh, merch. I'm a t-shirt whore.
Oh, I will hook you up. Don't worry.
Why do I now see in my mind's eye an image of like a cartoon character holding a t-shirt going, I'm a t-shirt whore. Cody, there's another idea for you.
Yeah. Find that. Yeah, Cody might make something for that.
Oh, fuck yeah. Absolutely.
I think for the shirt that I'm going to release is I'm going to draw a goat in my tattoo style, and I'm going to have the Hoof Beast logo real big, and the goat will be kind of superimposed with it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Would like to see that logo bigger,
Yep,
have more prominence. You know what I mean?
I'm just going to do mostly the logo with the goat head. The goat head will be pretty big too, but and of course I have to put some upside down pentagrams.
Oh shit! So Mousepong says, I don't know why, but it made me picture Babylon with a sexy band tee belly shirt with huge knockers.
Oh, Mousepong is.
I mean, if that was the case, he'd never leave the house. I mean,
Now,
come on.
Babylon, I have to challenge you because Mousepong has now outdone you for the evening.
Hey, few sips more, couple more chewy chews, and you should be all right.
I'm on my second triple bourbon and Coke for the night.
I'm on my first, so I'm about halfway through. Let's see here. Oh, Kyler. He says, can we get a version of a goat flipping off Jesus? I mean, we could totally make that happen.
Yeah,
we can make him bitch slap him for you if you'd like.
I do love to blaspheme. So yes, well, that is a great idea. I will have to work Jesus in some way.
That would be like that'd be like a tour shirt right there. That'd be awesome. So this first album, I mean, it literally sort of, without even them knowing it, kicked off this thing called heavy metal. It has literally stood the test of time for 50 plus years. And if you don't know by now who the hell I'm talking about, it would be, dun, 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 dun. That's right, in February of 1970, Black Sabbath, the original album, was released. And upon its release, critics, of course, hated it, which always means it's going to be a great record. Ozzy hadn't really come into his own, so you got him like literally as raw as you could possibly do. They had little to no fucking money. Mm-hmm. And when they went into the studio, all four of them at the same time were recorded in one shot. They were a jam band, like they were a live band. That's how they were for, I'd probably say 2, maybe 3 years prior. So they were used to rehearsing everything. And I mean, that's all they fucking did. Fucking smoke weed, drink, screw whatever came across their way and fucking jam. That was them. So that's what we got on that first record. And I'm telling you, if you don't own it on vinyl, do it. That vinyl cut, and especially since it's been remastered again, it's like you're right there in the room with them four fucks. Seriously. And that was like Bill Ward at his prime. He was so uber tasty with the jazz, just like putting it in there with a little bit of flair, a little bit of funk. It was fantastic. And then, of course, Iommi's vibrato is just, and Geezer laying it down thicker than a prostitute walking down around the corner down here in Plattsmouth. So that has to be my first one.
And I wouldn't have any other one. Probably, perhaps the most important album of all time to me. I remember the first time I heard that, and I had Paranoid first.
Most people did.
I had Black Sabbath's Black Sabbath, and that's the first track. When I heard the rain and the thunder in the background, and then they hit that fucking power chord. Oh my fucking God. I had to learn that song right away that night.
It's like, if we could have been around in, 70 or shit, even if we were, teenagers at the end of the 60s and 69. And then when that shit hit, I mean, I wish I could have seen the look on everybody's face, because I mean, it was an instant success, especially over here. America like fucking got hungry for it. And they were used to the, KC and the Sunshine Band and, all the hippie rock and stuff of the time. And here comes these fucking doomsters talking about people dying from smack and, protesting the Vietnam War and like one of the most amazing ways ever. Just a killer fucking record.
And Beatles was king back then, and they brought in a fucking harmonica on the song "The Wizard."
Wizard.
I fucking love that fucking song.
I ain't gonna lie, that's one of my favorite tunes on the whole record, besides fucking NIB.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they stole our hearts with the title track of the record, but damn it, NIB came around. It was like, ooh. Goodness.
Yep. Fucking choice.
Oh. Yes, as a matter of fact, I did, and good for Ozzy. Says, speaking of Ozzy, did you guys see what he said about Kanye West? Well, Kanye sampled one of Sabbath's early songs without permission. Of course, he doesn't want to be associated with that kind of scandalous type person. You know what I mean?
Fuck you, Kanye West. Double fucking punk ass.
I heard T-Pain sing a version of War Pigs with like a gospel backup band. And it was amazing. Like totally cool, totally did it justice. But, it's like, man, to let that dude sample it, it just doesn't sit right. I don't think with anybody really. But you can't blame the guy for having integrity and wanting to keep a legacy, the way it is. And he's not one to be afraid of, doing collaborations and shit. I mean, he did shit with Post Malone and stuff like that. So for him to feel, that strongly about it, I say, hell yeah. And of course, everybody jumped on it and said, oh, it had to be Sharon making him say all that shit. It had to be Sharon. What do you think for 1 second that he doesn't have at least one brain cell left?
Oh.
Of course he does. He's going to stand up for himself.
I saw him, I think it was 2016. He was sharp as a tack, and he moved around the stage great. He had great energy. The Sabbath was outstanding.
Absolutely.
It was great. Like, I was shocked because all I'd heard is all this bullshit about him not being with it. He was 100% with it. Great show. One of my favorite shows, in my top 5 favorite shows all time.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure of seeing all 4 original members at the Ozfest one year. So like that was bucket list, and I caught that in my early 20s, and I still think about that show. Always will.
I had to fly to Abu Dhabi to catch. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, here's my chance to see Sabbath. I'm in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'm going to pay for that airfare and the hotel room and go see them. And I'm so glad I did.
Yep.
The most expensive show I ever attended, but 100% worth it. Because they were never on tour whenever I was back in the summer.
Absolutely. Hey, right. Paul, what's up? He says, happy Mommy Milkers Monday to us as well. I just might have to do something special for that, since Mouse Bong has got that to stick. That could get real funny real fucking quick. About as funny as the dancing girl behind Chuck Biscuit's drum set in the video in the opening credits.
Well, yeah. Gosh. All right. I'm going to give mine, and this is one that I had no idea what year, and well, I knew about what year it came out, but this album is out fucking standing. It came out on February 28th of 2005. It technically is a metalcore band. So this is kind of blasphemy for me. I normally do not do metalcore at all, but this fucking album is 4.5 out of 5 stars good. It is freaking amazing. And I'm talking about Soilwork, Stabbing the Drama. This album is really, really good. I saw them. They opened up for Strapping Young Lad and with Gene Hoglan and Fear Factory. And it was a great show. And then I saw them. They opened up before Kill Switch Engage, which I don't care for Kill Switch Engage, and Lamb of God on the Sacrament tour in 2007. It was such a good show.
Kill Switch Engage was great when they first came out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, just like everything else, if you're not getting more creative and up in your game and stuff's not as powerful, it gets kind of boring after a while.
Yeah. So why would you want to buy this album? This album is very anthemic. So it's a lot kind of like sing-along at times. Really good, clean singing. And then really good yells / growls. Kind of metalcore-ish, though. Excellent musicianship throughout. Really catchy songs. So for me now, these days, like this is kind of like my palate cleanse. It's like something that's easier for me to listen to. But I remember anytime you go through an album and the first time you hear it, you're like, unholy shit. It's fucking amazing. And this album is really that good. If you need a palate cleanse, something to sing along to with the chorus, it is so good. Heck yeah, Cody. It is a great album. I was so glad to see this. Like when I go through my research, I'm always like, what am I going to come up with? Because I don't know when these albums were released. A few of them I remember.
Right.
But this, I was like, boom, fuck yeah, this album's so fucking good. Soilwork, Stabbing the Drama.
Nice. I'm just going to go ahead and, get the two biggest icons out of the way first, because actually just kind of shortly before we went live, I don't know how the hell I missed this, because through my research, it did not pop up on the radar, which is bullshit. But we find ourselves with yet another vocalist who wasn't kicked out of the band, but the band's main ingredient was a little fucking numbskull named Hank Sherman, who decided at the height of Merciful Fate's popularity, they just got done doing one of the biggest albums they've ever done, which was A Dangerous Meeting. And King was like, the fuck do we do now? So that, my friends, is when King D said, you know what? We're going to leave Merciful Fate where it is. Anybody that wants to come along for the ride with me, I'm going to do something a little bit more conceptual, meaning kind of like getting away from the straight on Lucifer, Satan stuff, and actually tell some fucking good old, horror stories. And he blessed us with this. Talk about anthemic in a way. I mean, this album gave us the one fucking metal song that is played every Halloween, and appropriately titled Halloween. It is awesome. It was definitely a different style. We got introduced to the amaze ball drumming of Mickey D.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the guys from Merciful Fate, the bassist and the other guitarist went with him, and then we suddenly found Andy LaRock, principal writer, along with King, because most people probably don't know this unless you're a King Diamond fanatic. That some bitch can play guitar really good too, and he's a BC Rich guy. So
and tasty solos too. Now,
dude,
a fun fact that I learned when I researched this, and by the way, this came out on February 17th of 1986.
how about that?
How many of you were born then? But
I was almost in middle school.
But Andy LaRock came in a little bit late for that album.
Yep.
And he apparently did not write on that album. But he was there for Abigail.
So that means King probably wrote the whole thing. Holy shit balls.
I didn't read that, but I would assume that's probably closer to the truth.
Yeah, because, you know, he was not, in addition to his amazing vocal parts, you know, 4, 5, 6 different voices, you know, all at the same time. He would also do the keyboard parts or the organ parts, all that real eerie, spooky stuff. But he was a riff writer. So I'm sure him and Michael Denner, which was the other member of Merciful Fate that ended up joining him for this, also probably lended his riffing, because let's face it, Denner was he was, I wouldn't necessarily call him a shredder, but he was definitely a good old chunkin' riffer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So coming up with something different, it definitely didn't sound like Merciful Fate, which I think is the reason it did so fucking well. And it showed a different side of King, and it told us this great story about the portrait.
I can
which
remember,
obviously led to his first epic, which was Abigail, not too far after that.
I remember seeing when they were advertising that in Circus Magazine.
Oh man.
And seeing that album cover, like I was like,
what the fuck are we in for? I wish I would have saved some of those too.
Yeah. I had them for years, and then I think in the middle 90s, I decided, I don't need these.
For sure.
I had girls that wanted to cut out Motley Crue pictures of Nikki Sixx and Vince Neil, and I would bring them to them. They're like, "Can I have that picture, please?" Maybe
shit. At that point, you know, that's all there really was. I mean, there was that British wave of metal. Don't get me wrong. You know, you had Bruce Dickinson and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And of course, you know, AC/DC kind of came along on that ride as well. But when King Diamond hit, everything got dark. And let's face it, in the horror movie world at that time, Stephen King novels turned movies were like the most celebrated films, alongside, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. Yeah. So it's like every metalhead was into that and really could get into you know, this album, because that was right up their alley. And they were obviously fans of Merciful Fate. And it was a little bit, I don't want to say poppier, but it was definitely more groovier. Because, you know, Merciful Fate was a lot heavier in a lot of respects, between like some thrash here and there and, you know, all the complex changes. This was a little bit more simple. So I think listeners were like, hell yeah, he's doing some like really cool, straightforward shit, and it just fucking rocks. The sound of the goddamn snare drum, Mickey G whacking it, man. Woo! Great album.
Yeah, I saw Mickey D when he was with Motorhead.
Hell yeah, me too.
He did a long fucking solo too.
Same one he'd been doing since Abigail.
Yep. Oh, it was so good. And he hits the drums so hard.
Oh, he's a basher. And, you know, King Diamond didn't really do a lot of videos, but it was always kind of fun to see him in those like decadent outfits. And, you know, Mickey D had that really, really long, you know, blonde hair, and it's just like flying up with the drumsticks, because literally his drumsticks would come behind his head before it comes down for the hit. I was just like, yep, I'm in the right business here. I want to do that.
definitely had a stage presence for a drummer being in the back. You could not see Mickey D performing and not give him some time. They always had him prominently up on
Yep.
a stage on the stage, and you could see him clearly. And thank you for doing that, because the way he moved his head and his hair while he's hitting the
He was
kit,
into every hit.
like it made me kind of feel it a lot more and kind of be with it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could definitely feel it. And then when he would go into that drum set solo, the rest of the band stepped off the stage, let him do his thing. He can control a crowd too. You know, he'd always get them involved in what he was doing. So, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So my next album is an outstanding album, perhaps their best album ever, but I would say My Arms Your Hearse is my favorite, and I might even pull Morning Rise and put Morning Rise in front. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? Morning Rise and My Arms Your Hearse. I'm talking about Blackwater Park. One hell of a beautiful, complex, melodic death metal album with clean singing at time. It came out on February 27th of 2001. Kyler,
Yep.
where were you on February 27th of 2001? I
don't know. We'll have to wait and see what he says.
I think Kyler was still shitting his pants.
Shit, 2001. I was like 22. I think 22. Yeah, it's 22 or 23.
But
Having the time of my life.
What an outstanding, beautiful album. Now, I actually bought this album for my brother. Like, we came out and I bought it for him, and he let me borrow it because I had heard about I had heard about Opeth, but
He never got that shit back, did he?
Yeah. Oh, no, I gave it back to him and I went out and bought it. But what great, outstanding album. And the album art, it just looks like people standing like ghosts standing way in the back of a swamp. Like, that's creepy. Like, Opeth often has kind of a ghost theme in what they're doing.
Absolutely. Apparently, yeah. Kyler was only 1 year old back then.
and shitting his pants.
Drapery Falls best track.
Oh, so good. Is there
I
a
definitely
bad
need to
track
go
on
back
this
and
album?
revisit this record.
This album is so good. My Arms, Your Hearse, like Morning Rise, like they're all good. Like I will admit I didn't really care for Ghost Reveries that much. Like the last two albums, I felt like they were just a little bit without edge. This still had edge. To me, this perhaps could be them at their peak. Maybe not at their most kind of cutting edge, but at their peak. My Arms, Your Hearse. Orchid's their first one. Orchid sounds like death metal on Metallica. It's really, really good. If you haven't listened to Opeth, don't get their new shit, or unless you like prog rock with clean vocals. I don't care for the new shit. I bought the first two albums, and now I'm just like, fuck you guys. You should have changed your name.
I think a lot of their fans kind of feel that way also. It's sad. I mean, it's one thing I do have to definitely agree with you on that, because if it was something tragic where, he couldn't do the screaming anymore or whatever, start up something different, go under a different name. But by that point they had that. And again, I wonder if the, industry people behind the scenes, agent or record label, told them maybe they should do this or that to keep going and stay relevant. It's like there are so many amazing heavy bands in all subgenres of metal that never fucking changed a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they stood the test of time. It's like, I think some of those bands in the early 2000s, that new wave of metal, you know, they either swimmed or sank, you know, for the most part. And it's like, if a record company said, well, you know, we'll sign you to a 3-4 album deal, they're like, oh, well, shit, we can't just cut them. We signed them to 4 records. So, you know, they probably came in, told them to change their sound up a little bit, see what's popular, keep with the times or how things are going. Just a really weird time in metal.
Yeah, it was. It really
Excellent fucking record, though.
It really is good. And if you are a musician or you really appreciate musicianship, listen to the bassist. He is world class, great bass lines, kind of in the way Geezer Butler did, to where they don't necessarily go with a riff all the time. He's making all kinds of fills with the percussionist. The drummer also outstanding, primo percussion work. Really, really good album. If you haven't ever been into it, there's so many, like there are like 6 albums that are 4.5 or 5 out of 5 stars that they made starting off. And then for me, like Ghost Reveries, just there's a couple that the last 2 I just didn't care for all that much. They have an album that is mostly instrumental, all clean singing, and it's very jazz influenced as well. And not like a avant-garde jazz, but it's jazz, like very tasteful, melodic,
Right.
really good. I think that one is that one Damnation, or I forget. They're across the room.
It's almost like you know, how Avenged Sevenfold went from where they were to, you know, something way more dry from what their formula was. But yeah, definitely check out that first record and the first 2, most of. All right. So who do I have on the chopping block here? So the 90s was definitely a time for kind of a newer wave of doom, because Candlemass pretty much held the entire decade of 80s hostage in the doom genre, as far as most dynamic, obviously great fucking singing, great riffing, and solidified what doom really was, until somebody known as Cathedral came onto the scene. And I do believe I have that album cover here, so I'm going to pull that up. Yep. Probably one of the weirdest looking front covers you ever seen, but I get it though. It's called Forest of Equilibrium. They are heavier on so many different levels. You know, both in voice, you don't really have that operatic, you know, vocals going on like you got from Messiah. So, you know, something just a little bit more hard hitting. And overall, a really great album. And they're still going strong. So if you're a Doom fan, but you like it a bit heavier, and like I said, less of the, you know, type stuff, this is definitely the band for you. Drums are fantastic. Riffage is killer, but it doesn't have like that, you know, classic Sabbath fuzz. They're not a fuzz band. So definitely more on the metal side, which is why when you see them, you know, on Google or whatever, it says heavy metal, doom metal. And that's really true. Really good writing.
Yeah, Lee Dorian was the vocalist for Napalm Death, and then he left Napalm Death and formed Cathedral. And in my opinion, Paradise Lost had the first death doom album.
Yes.
In my opinion, Cathedral had the first funeral doom album. This fucking album is fucking funeral doom. It is, to me, one of the most underrated doom metal albums of all time. A lot of people, like if you watch a bunch of people that are doing their best doom metal albums of all time, they do not even bring Cathedral up, and it's fucking horseshit. This album is so
How?
nobody was this slow or this heavy, especially at a time when everybody was trying to be as fast as they could. Like
Right.
Napalm Death was short songs and blast beats and blah 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 real quick. And here comes Cathedral, and even like Godflesh, uh,
Mhm.
the lead vocalist for Godflesh left Napalm Death as well, formed Godflesh, which was a very different tempo, industrial like. So Napalm Death inspired a lot of kind of really groundbreaking shit. Godflesh Street Cleaner, totally fucking groundbreaking. And
Fantastic group.
Cathedral's Forest of Equilibrium, 100% groundbreaking. Nobody was that slow or that heavy. It is a beautiful album. To me, 5 out of 5 stars, that album. I love that fucking album. I
I
remember
mean, complete agreement on that. And dark, man.
it really is. I remember
Really fucking dark.
I remember driving home the night I bought that album. I was so excited because I'd seen it in Metal Maniacs magazine. And I remember I found it, I got it, and my wife and I had to go meet somebody because we were big animal rights activists. And so we had a meeting with the people who were known as the kind of gatekeepers, or they were the flag bearers for animal rights in the city we lived in. And they actually weren't. They were more kind of companion pet, and they didn't talk about the cows and the chickens and the pigs so much. And anyways, we went to their house and met them. But I couldn't wait to get home because my wife didn't want to hear that in the car. I couldn't wait to
They
get
never do.
the album. and that album artwork, they kept the same artist for most of their albums, not all of them, but for most of their albums. And he's a great painter who is obviously the kind of modern, cleaner type painter inspired by Hieronymus Bosch.
Hell yeah. Lots of good comments out here. First, Mousebong says, I got one for the avant-garde fans. Blue House Nords, Memoria Vestua 2, Dialogue with the Stars. Amazing, dark, brooding, atmospheric stuff. Go listen to it. So that must have came out in February then. All right. And she goes on to say that this is the second time Cathedral has come up on this show, and I couldn't be prouder. Y'all the real ones. Arcane, what's up, man? Also says fucking legit, to be honest.
Oh, Arcane is awesome. That poor dude is stuck in Lester, Alabama. It's kind of like,
oh man,
I'm stuck in Greenwood, South Kakalaki, and there really ain't shit going on. Now, my death metal band that I'm in, we actually do have a show coming up on 4/20. Finally. So I do have a show coming up to play.
Of course you do. And of course it's on that date.
But I guarantee you I will not partake until after our set.
Well, yeah.
But Arcane
better to be safe than sorry.
Arcane is a really good black metal guitarist. Like I made it to him because he looks a lot like me. Just the young version of me. Like he looks a lot like what I looked like when I was younger. And he's a good black metal artist, really great musician, and he's been supporting me quite a bit on TikTok and on Instagram. Good metalhead, like metal for life, 100%.
So, to me, this album coming out in 92, you had Cowboys from Hell as well during that time. Typo Negative had their breakthrough record, Bloody Kisses, around that time. So for this kind of doom to come out, because everyone was always like, who can go slower than Typo? Because I mean, they would just literally drag that shit out, right? Man, the way they do it with the harsh vocals and the riffing is definitely crunchier. You don't really get that pedally sound, I guess, if you know what I mean. Like it doesn't sound like it's got like flange or too much verb on it or anything. It's like crunchy, just so heavy on another fucking level. So definitely, if you haven't heard Cathedral, get yourself a copy of that first record. You'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah, like when that album came out, we already had like My Dying Bride, which is also one of the first Death Doom, and we had Paradise Lost, and
Yes.
but these guys took it and they went even slower, and they went more melodic, and they picked up the pace for they released an EP like 6 or 8 months later, and it was great. It's outstanding, but I wanted that slow, super heavy. But I'm telling you, I get so pissed off because I watch a lot of YouTube videos with people who are reviewing and gaving, and you're very welcome, Arcane. Anyways, I've watched so many of these videos. I'm not having a moment. I've watched so many, and these guys, and they really know metal well. I'm pulling my hair out, thinking like, what the fuck? Why are you leaving Cathedral's Forest of Equilibrium out? They do it all the fucking time. And of course, I'm in the comment section right now. They never respond to me.
Of course they're not going to respond because they're spineless bitches.
How could they fucking miss this? It's normally it's kids that are like probably around, and sorry guys, I call, if you're not 35 or older, I'm calling you a kid. You really aren't a kid, but like poor Kyler. But like
we love you.
Are doing metal review podcasts. They're like in their 20s, and so they didn't grow up when this shit happened. This fucking album and Earache Records was huge at the time. Earache Records was so fucking influential.
No worries, man. But, like I said, the problem with Doom is that a lot of people, like I said, if they don't sound like carbon copies of Sabbath, it's not Doom to them. It's like, come on. That they sounded that way because that's what they had available to them. And if you haven't figured it out yet, Iommi was missing some fingertips. So he was getting a different sound out of those fucking, handmade leather thimbles that he would put over those tips in order to bend the guitar strings and push them down harder. So how do you think anybody, sure, we can always hear that Black Sabbath influence. It's literally in every band ever, but never has there been a carbon copy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people said Corrosion, when they went more stoner doom, said that they were more like Sabbath. I'm like, sorry. It's not the same. There's only one fucking Tony Iommi. Mm-hmm. One. So for something, like I said, Doom really didn't get legitimized and concrete until fucking Candlemass. I don't care who shoots me for that. It's the fucking truth. People just don't want to admit that. So when Cathedral comes around, ups the game in such an amazingly tasty, rifflicious way, it's like, come on, man. It doesn't have to sound like everything else to be Doom. Hence, like you said, the first honest-to-goodness funeral Doom band.
St. Vitus, they had their album, like, I'm not going to bring that one up as one of mine for the list. February 6, 1984, St. Vitus put out their first album, St. Vitus, and it was self-titled St. Vitus. That's a big pioneer for doom metal, but they weren't heavy like Candlemass. Trouble was really big. Their first two albums are super fucking heavy doom, and really good. But to me, they didn't hold a candle to Candlemass.
Since we're on the subject, did you hear that there is technically a big four in doom metal?
Oh, no.
I've seen it in a few different places. St. Vitus is one of them. Trouble is another. Candlemass is one. I forget who the fourth one is, but it's all like newer, it's after the 70s. Oh, Pentagram. Pentagram is the other one.
No, I put Black Sabbath in there before Pentagram.
You know,
Fuck that.
problem is Sabbath fucked up their sound on like 2 or 3 records during the 70s, and
Yeah.
then went total fucking straight heavy metal in the 80s and left all the doom behind. It wasn't until they got Dio back in the 90s with Dehumanizer, suddenly we hear that doom influence again. I digress.
Yeah, great album. Glad you brought that one up. My next one is
Thank you, Mousebone. Yes, you are correct.
so my next one is February 5th, 1990, and I'm talking about Reaper. Get ready to bring this up.
I'm getting there.
Lost, and the album was called Lost Paradise. This is a really, really difficult album to find these days. Like, you're going to probably be paying more than $100 if you,
I believe it.
like, please, Paradise Lost, re-release this album. Put it out on vinyl. I will fucking buy it.
Please.
This album, to me, is the first Death Doom album. And then
I would agree with that.
within months, with an album that I love even more than that one, and it is Paradise Lost Gothic.
Mm-hmm.
And then My Dying Bride came out. I forget which album it was, though. My Dying Bride came out, I think, towards the end of 1991, maybe October of 1991. They came out with their album, and that was also Death Doom. Thank you, England, for 2 fucking remarkable. Sorry about that. Somebody fucking called me on my work number. And this
I
guy
hate when that
calls
shit
me all the
happens.
fucking time. I don't fucking answer my phone after hours unless it's somebody I know that I need for, like, the business.
Right.
Sorry, I don't need that dude for the business. I'm not fucking answering it, especially right fucking now.
I'm just glad it didn't fuck with your sound.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Oh no, we got you.
Oh,
nice
you can
and
hear
clear.
me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, because I can't hear you now.
I see. Here we go.
Okay, I'm gonna go out and then come back in. Sorry, I will be right back. Sorry, that
No
fucker.
worries.
God damn him. I'll be right back.
No worries. So yeah. First, I'll address Arcane over there. So yes, they're. Oh, I hit the wrong one, motherfucker. There we go. Wait, a big 4 of doom metal. Yes, it is considered to be Candlemass, Saint Vitus, Pentagram, and Trouble. And it's like all American bands too. So, you know, they just copied what the big 4 and thrash did. Let's see. Arcane said, oh shit, I'd never seen that album. Yeah, that's because, like Puffby said, it's been out of print for a hardcore minute. So
it's really hard to get. It's really hard. I think
you know who it depends on. If they were on a label, obviously at the time, and they're no longer on it and don't have the rights to it, they can totally not reprint it.
Yeah.
Which sucks ass through a straw.
Yeah.
Unless you're Danzig, who, you know, cuts all the records that he's like, no, I don't sound good. Can't have it no more. Cracks me up. But yeah, I remember, you know, we're always talking about the great metal magazines of the time. I saw advertisement for Paradise Lost. It was Hit Parader. And I still at the time, we were all, wow, we saw this album cover and a date that it was coming out, and, you know, maybe like just a little bit of a message, you know, kind of describing like what's coming, or like, you know, even just the album title, and be like, oh shit, we got to check that shit out. That's how I found them.
But I wanted to bring up that one once I saw it on the list because Lost Paradise, to me, that is the first that I know of, at least, Death Doom album. It is slow. Nick Holmes' vocals are not like really compressed. They're real.
Mhm.
It's like he's gargled on razor blades.
Ah, yeah, that's probably, pack of cools, twice a day kind of vocal style is what I like to call it. Or,
Hell
carton of Winston's.
it's so good. I found these guys. There was it Hard and Heavy? Hard and Heavy used to put out
Oh, yeah.
and I bought that VHS and it had them for the album Gothic on it. So I didn't know about this album until the last couple of years.
Wow.
But you can hunt it down.
That is weird.
It's really good, really, really good. And
Somewhere somebody's got it.
I can't. Maybe Mouse Bong would know this, but the My Dying Bride album that came out like in '91, I think it was. It's something about the Swans. I have it. It's right across the room. I could walk over and grab it. But that album is really good too, and that's a Death Doom album.
I think she was asking, was it Towards the Sinister?
Towards the Sinister. Oh, yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be that one. I think it's the one with the something about the Swans. I think that was their second.
Oh, she goes, oh, you mean Turn Loose the Swans.
That's Turn Loose the Swans. That's it. Yep.
Figured we'd get there somehow.
Yeah. That's also a great album. I think that one came out like October. So in October, we're going to continue to do this shit. I love going back because it's all the nostalgia. I remember the sights, the smells, the girlfriends from around when these albums came out. And
it was a much simpler time, and the hair was bigger.
Yeah. And, inspired and excited by all this stuff. What groundbreakers. Like,
absolutely.
We've talked about Cathedral, groundbreaking fucking album. Let's see, who was that other one? Soilwork. That's a groundbreaking, really well put together. They came into their own with that album. Opus, Blackwater Park, amazing. You could argue that there's 4 or 5 others that are just as good. Black Sabbath album. These are iconic metal albums that everybody should know about if you're into metal.
Absolutely. So not surprised that my next one is in the realm of black metal. And this was right around that same time in the early 90s, in February on one of those dates, because again, somehow this one slipped through my fingers. But an English black metal band, first of its kind, decides to put out a little album known as The Principle of Evil Made Flesh. And I picked it up. Man, I think I want to say, and I feel bad because I caught on to them just a little bit late. It was like maybe 2 albums later I caught them. And very good black metal. There wasn't a lot of that symphonic orchestral stuff that they do now, since they're kind of like the kings of symphonic black metal. But holy shit balls. Danny Filth's voice was, I don't know, just nothing like it. Nothing. His range from the gut to his mid-range, and then that unbelievable how high can I go, to the point where there was a rumor flying around that he was taking female hormone and had to lactate every so often in order to keep it up. And I'm just like, nah, if King can do it, and I know he's all natural. It's almost like Danny kind of like developed this falsetto scream thing. It
Mhm.
was not like anything we've ever heard.
No.
Almost like a shriek. I want to call it like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of like shriek, and the great Nicholas Barker, who would go on to do their most iconic album ever, Cruelty and the Beast, which is just a fucking masterpiece. But this first record really set the tone. And then with their second record, you could kind of see where they re-recorded. And I'm sure there's like some kind of story about that. Maybe they had switched labels and wanted to keep some of the original songs, because a few of between the first three records, you see some of the same songs, but they're just redone.
Mhm.
Because, sometimes on your first effort, you're your own worst critic and you're like, well, maybe we could do this better or that better. And, Danny's kind of a perfectionist, I feel. And this was long before the studded vampire wear that they all do. I mean, they still had the corpse paint, everybody long black hair, typical, but they were wearing band shirts during this time. We didn't know that he was going to, become little, Vlad the Impaler as time goes on. That's what he reminds me of. Now his makeup's just all over the place, and it's like, well, who are you going to be this time?
Yeah.
I didn't care for the Jack Skellington paint too much.
Yes, I was saying, I was bringing up Tim Burton. I was like, yeah, I didn't like that one at all. Like, that belongs in Hot Topic or at a Rob Zombie show.
It's like they're one of the few that have survived. Who would have thought that they would have survived as long as they did? Just because as they were really starting to hit a real big high, like I said, like Cruelty and the Beast, they added the female backup singer, who they now, every album since has. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess they just feel like, well, we can pretty much do anything we want now. Who is actually currently on tour in Europe, all over the place, which is really cool. But this album definitely set the tone. What I liked about it is obviously there's no keys or symphonic airiness that is drowning out the guitars.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing everything. I mean, just really good. I could hear every 30-second note riff. Just overall great sound. Drums are pummeling. Everything just really well produced, and they just keep getting better and better.
Yeah, if you want to, this came out February 24th, 1994. So they were definitely
1 year before I graduated high school.
They were definitely inspired by the second wave of black metal, and you can hear it. And Reaper's 100% right. The keyboards are kind of pussifying the rest of the album. It hits a lot heavier. I like it.
And honestly, everyone that's been with Cradle, I mean, obviously, when you have a career that long, people are going to pick you up at different times. But in the 90s, though, that one, Vampire, and there's one other one too before Cruelty and the Beast. Like I said, those three records, first of all, artwork fucking amazing. Blasphemous is all fuck out. Not to mention, it's got some very nice looking ladies on it. Honestly, when I first picked them up, that was why. I was like, holy shit, these are vampires. They're vampire ladies, and one lady's biting the other, and I'm just like, all right. I mean, I was 18. What do you want from me? So, apparently the comment section, our addicts here didn't know about the lactating Danny Filth rumor that was circulating for a very long time. So, yep, we hold on. God damn it. Yeah, we killed Mousebong with that one. Also, Paul. Not surprised, Arcane, that they're a huge influence on you and a very good influence to have. Let's see. He also goes on to say, Paul Allender, in my opinion, is still the best guitarist Cradle of Filth ever had. Yeah, definitely. You can definitely tell who's really the muscle behind that. Mousebong definitely agreed. And then I got to shake his hand at Ozfest, and I was hella sunburned. Ooh. You know, if my skull could tell the tale of how many times it got burnt out there during Ozfest. He asked if I was okay. So embarrassing. Hey, at least he cared. At least he said something. And then Cody says, Nephamphetamine was my Cradle introduction. Not a bad record. Don't forget about Midian, because that's the one I always seem to forget. My fault.
Really good.
Midian was a really good record.
Really good.
Probably my second favorite. Because, like I said, Cruelty and the Beast, the story of Elizabeth Bathory told in the most delicious way. I'm a sucker for a good concept.
Remember, shortly after I left Jesus, I found Cradle of Filth. And I felt I couldn't shake that. I felt
You're like, I'm at home.
I had felt like such a naughty boy in the beginning listening to Filth, because these lyrics are fucking satanic. They're fucking really fucking, they come from an evil fucking place. And I like it.
Well, and they're deeply ingrained in their country's history. Like, you know, Danny Filth is a actual member of the Order of the Dragon.
Yeah.
So he knows a little something about something.
Yep. Boy, I sure would love, Reaper, I would love for you to have Danny Filth on one day.
I can honestly say with great distinction that is quite the possibility. We're just waiting for him to get off tour. We're going to help promote the new record. So I have been in talks with the agent, so I feel okay letting you all know. Let's see. Mousebong says CFO was the first band that scared my mom.
Mousebong, I took my first wife to go see Cannibal Corpse on the Butchered at Birth album.
No way.
Atheist. It was Gorguts, Atheist, Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, what a fucking trifecta!
I hung out with Kelly Schaefer while in between, like actually before they went on, in between, right before they went on, and then Kelly Schaefer came back out. I hung out with him some more. Cannibal Corpse wouldn't come out with everybody though. Fucking assholes. Because they were for probably, liberally speaking, maybe 30 people in the audience at the Masquerade in Heaven of the Masquerade in Atlanta, Georgia. But my wife, when we left, she cried for probably 15 minutes because she couldn't understand why Cannibal Corpse would make t-shirts with the Butchered at Birth album cover art on it, and why they would make music that sounded that way. She
no kidding.
Cried and boo-hooed on a ride.
Now, was that with George or the original singer?
Yeah, this was with Barnes.
Oh, you know, that'll forever be one of the most internal struggles. I will always take Corpse Grinder over.
Oh,
I can't help it. Barnes was one of those cheater, cup the mic guys.
Oh, he told
and
me.
It's like, oh, okay, well, you know, if I stuck it to my ass, I'm sure I'd sound pretty good too when I fart in the mic. Yeah, because I used to hate it.
No, I agree with that analysis of his vocal approach. He definitely cups, and it sounded like shit back then. I still had a good time at the show. It was still fucking heavy. It was still Cannibal Corpse. Their t-shirts were great, but there was no way with a crying wife I was going to buy one of those t-shirts. So
yeah. She goes, Barnes' vocals are kind of a struggle bus. Yes.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to say, you gave her some trauma that night. Poor lady.
Yeah. Well, I can guarantee you she never ever went to another metal show with me. Never ever. That
She's
was
like, I'm not about this shit.
that was the best.
Think we got time for a couple more.
All right. My next
And real quick, sorry.
Right.
Cody says, just throwing it out there. If Pantera comes near you and you're able to go to it, do whatever it takes. Zach is carrying Dime's legacy so well. And from every concert I've watched on YouTube, abso-fucking-lutely he is. He is not Zachifying those riffs like most people would already had it in their heads that he would do. He's not doing the typical Zach thing at all. And he's playing every solo note for note.
I can hear his technique a little bit in how he's bending the strings and
Oh yeah.
harmonics. He doesn't do harmonics in the same way. He does them at a little bit lower register, but out fucking standing like, and he's such a humble guy. He's so down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
I love his interviews. Like I don't like Black Label Society, but
It's not for everybody.
I love his guitar playing, and I really love his interviews. I'll watch him anytime. He's a great guy. I'm so glad he stepped up. And I can't think, I would not have wanted Ola Englund to step up for it. I'm glad it did.
No.
He was the best choice ever for that.
Absolutely.
So I'll let you talk about that one if you want. But first, before I do that, I'm going to talk about Death fucking Spiritual Healing. I was pen pals with Bill Andrews of Death, and we used to write back and forth. And so I wrote him after I saw them. I think it was like October 14th of 1990. It was the second to last show with Bill Andrews and Terry Butler, the bassist for Death. Chuck Schuldiner was in an asshole mood the whole time. He sat up there and did not talk to the audience. He was in a crabby mood, and I mean his vocals were outstanding. It was basically like they had played the album for me. And Chuck was in a real shitty mood. That fucking sucked. So I wrote Bill and I told him, I was like, no offense, but what was the matter with him? And at this time, by the time he received my letter, they had already been kicked out of the band and Chuck was going a different direction. Chuck had gone to Europe with a different drummer and a different bassist. Because, I mean, Bill Andrews was a very straightforward 80s type drummer. And he wasn't anything like what Sean Reinert was for the Human album. And Chuck, I think that was what Chuck really wanted. But Death Spiritual Healing is fucking amazeballs. It came out on February 16th of 1990. Love the blasphemous artwork on here.
Oh,
and
it was so indicative of the times, too. You had all those televangelists.
Oh, absolutely. Begging for money on television every fucking night. I mean,
Jimmy Swagger was my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the red-faced cocaine hooker swilling dude. Oh, I done wrong. Send me $1,000.
Boo-hoo, boo-hoo.
And you will be so blessed. Oh man, I gotta sample some of that shit.
But this album is loaded with bangers. If you haven't ever listened to Death Spiritual,
man,
it's a
iconic album for them.
Living Monstrosity, Altering the Future, fucking Spiritual Healing, Low Life. Oh my gosh, this album is so fucking amazing. Go get it if you don't have it yet.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, Mouse Bong, I feel this. I used to enjoy watching Tammy Faye Baker cry late at night while I smoked weed. And she said it was weirdly comforting. That was their magic. The more they cried, the more her fucking makeup would run. Shit, you just felt sorry for that poor rich bitch. I am so sorry. I'm not sorry, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's crying all the way to the bank while her man's in prison for 15, 20 years. She's like, I'm still here, bitches. Pay me. Ah, man, that shit just never gets old. But
Hey.
luckily, a lot of them are getting older now and are starting to die off.
Fake piss pieces of shit.
Oh, man. And then Paul actually says, and I have to kind of agree with him on this too. He says Black Label Society plays basically Christian metal now. And you're absolutely right. Which is why I'm like, well, Zach is presenting himself as a heathen. I mean, he even named his like signature heathen guitar after one of the Norse gods. So I'm just like, well, which the fuck is it, man? They don't get along. They don't play well. So figure it out. Arcane says, oh, yes, absolutely. Full of bangers. Spiritual healing is great. My favorite death song is Spirit Crusher. Yes! That is a banger for the ages.
And I have that t-shirt, but back in the 90s, I saw them on like October 14th, I think 1990. That shirt does not fit me now. And I'm not a big boy, but
Right.
They made shirts smaller back then. And I
They
guess
did.
my overall body, because I don't exercise, I have bad knees and bad shoulder. I don't exercise like I used to. So I think my body fat has just increased a little bit. So that shirt does not fit like it used to.
Well, and you might have actually grew a little bit more height wise.
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah, I was a late bloomer. on the back of the shirt, on the back of the shirt, it says, "Reality is brutality, and brutality is death." So cool.
And you want to know, I'll do you one better here as well. As a matter of fact, as many of the original Death members are currently on the Death to All tour with Gene Hoglan doing your favorite album in its entirety. And that's also including Steve DiGiorgio on bass.
Hell yes.
So the only thing I have to say there is, how much hell are they giving the vocalist? Not because I don't think the guy's good, but because Chuck and his guitar playing is so treasured, just like Dying. I bet you that dude's catching some hell. But then again, nobody thought that would ever happen. Like they would do some kind of quasi, reunion like this. And what a great time to do it too.
Yeah, good point. And that brings up something about that you just made me think about, like how I relate to Chuck. I am not near the guitarist that Chuck Schuldiner is. I'm not near the pioneer that Chuck Schuldiner is. However, he exuded that every interview, even when I saw them when he was in a crabby mood, he cares painfully about his originality and about his technical ability to play those songs as they were. And like if you watch any of the shows, like I think it was Live in LA, like in 1999, that's a great DVD to grab. Great show. He's what a cool guy. I'm really so sad that he passed away at such a young age.
Oh, absolutely. Ahead of his time, and definitely, took death metal. Well, shit, man. He almost single-handedly created it, if you ask me. That's always going to be an argued thing. But, man, the Florida death metal scene was as famous as it is today, people still talk about it to this day because that man started a little band called Death.
Mhm.
So speaking of heathens, have to end with an iconic album because literally, I mean, many bands have kind of sort of throughout the years covered Viking sagas and beliefs and stuff of that nature, especially the sagas, but not like this band did. Just a wonderful group of Swedish. I guess you could kind of say it's almost like most people call them Viking metal, but it's almost like Viking death metal in a way, especially on this record. If I can find it, there it is.
It's their debut. Yep, I knew who you were talking
February 10th, 1998, Amon Amarth released their debut, Once Sent from the Golden Hall. And what a fucking ball crusher of an album this was. I mean, sure, they look like Vikings, but damn it, the way they play. So much power, blinding speed guitar riffs. The drummer is just phenomenal. A lot of their stuff, I don't know if maybe they're just a little older now. It does tend to happen. They're kind of slowing down a little bit. We've kind of talked about their later stuff, how it's becoming a bit simpler, but those first few records, though, will always remain so intelligent, and there's almost like a prog flavor to some of it. It's really kind of weird, the amalgamation that they are. That's why most people just call them Viking metal. But man, just the vocals, those deep gutturals. I mean, that sounds like a Viking would if he was going to battle. You know what I mean? So they told us amazing stories from the sagas, and I mean, they're all of that pagan faith. So there's nothing more original than that. Nobody came out and did anything like that. And the way they came out, as brutal as they were, just amazeballs.
It's definitely not as melodic as Twilight,
Nope.
The Thunder Gods, and the one before that, I'm forgetting the name. It has the word crow in it. That's an amazing album. That one that came out right before Twilight of the Thunder Gods, and then Twilight of the Thunder Gods. Those are my two favorite Amon Amarth. This one is heavier though. The debut album by Amon Amarth.
Yeah,
it's real
punishing. It is unrelentless. And we think about the great Iron Maiden and their stage show with Eddie and all that stuff. I mean, these guys have guys coming out in actual Viking war outfits, helmets, swords, and literally having sword fights, playing out what they're talking about. And as they tell the story, it's just it's insane. It was just nothing like it. They will always be one of my favorites. So yeah, we got a lot here. Yes, we do. Yes, Amon Amarth, Guardians of Asgard is such a banger as well. You are correct, sir. Mousebong was like, I knew when you said Viking.
Yeah.
That's because there's literally nobody else. I mean, why would anyone try to do something like them after they've mastered it?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go. I haven't ever seen them. I'm going to see them for the first time in Asheville.
So jealous.
Asheville's 2 hours north of me, and I'm going to go see them, and I'm excited for that. They were playing here. I think it was end of August, and the show got rained out. It was in a great outdoor amphitheater, and Ghost was opening up for.
I hate when that happens.
For Ghost. But the lineup that they've got, I forgot who were the two opening bands, but they're good bands that are going to open up for them in Asheville. So I'm excited to go see Amon Amarth. Great band, important band. So my next one is dedicated to Cody. Cody, who in the fuck is this?
Dun,
We're-
dun, 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 dun.
So I'm talking about Vulgar Display of Power. It came out February 25th of 1992. And this album is a vulgar display of power. I've always thought that this was the lead vocalist. I think it's Jeff Tate of Queensryche. Now, I do like Queensryche, even though they're proggy and not so heavy. I do like Queensryche. But I think that's Jeff Tate getting a punch. And that would
I wish it was. I really do.
That would be so like Pantera, because they had made millions and millions of dollars, Queensryche, with the Empire album, which was totally sold out. I mean, pretty songs, but they're way overproduced. No edge at all.
Just prog metal, straight up. The original Dream Theater. Oh, I said it.
No, really. No, I totally agree with that. But Jeff Tate is an amazing singer. But to me, it's Phil Anselmo throwing the punch and saying, dude, we're fucking up now.
It is in fact Phil Anselmo's fist pressed super hard against Dimebag Darrell's cheek. But when you look at it, though, the way they manipulated the image and all that stuff literally looks like he's decking him.
Yeah, it does.
Literally everyone saw that front cover when this record came out and was like, this literally is power. We're talking about a time when the youth was never angrier. I mean, the youth was angry in the 80s, but man, the 90s, though, whole different ball of wax. It's really when they started to have like a voice. You know what I mean? So this whole record is like building up your inner strength, your core strength, your mental strength. Just every song, starting off with fucking Mouth of War, one of my favorite songs by them of all time. Mm-hmm. Just, everyone in the world has always had somebody talking shit about them. And it's like that song encompasses that. Like, if you're not going to speak the truth about me, I'm going to destroy you.
Is this the 5 out of 5 stars album, Reaper?
Absolutely, it is.
Absolutely. So fucking good. The groove that they had in this album, they were already grooving a bit, and I love Cemetery Gates, Cowboys from Hell, but this album fucking grooves. And as I've said on this show at some time before, I saw them, I think it was at the Roxy, that held about 600 people in Atlanta, either that or the Tabernacle. It holds about 600 people. I was on the balcony with a fucking migraine.
Oh, man.
My migraine was so bad that I left without buying a t-shirt. But I stayed for every fucking second of their show.
And that was really their prime right there. You can almost say that the next record was more so their prime. But, I mean, this album, they finally shed the 80s vocal style and left it behind, because there was a lot of that on the first record. So because Anselmo, Cemetery Gates, man, he still had that shit.
Yeah, and he had his mohawk with gray. And so I was expecting to see that. And so I believe I saw them about 1 month before this album came out. So I got to see all of these, like Walk and Mouth for War.
The biggest anthem of all time, Walk.
I got to see them live before the album had come out, because they didn't do, pre-releases back then. It was when it came out is when you get to hear it. Back then, we didn't have all this digital sharing and stuff like that we can do today. And so when Phil came out with his head shaved, I was like, what the fuck? Because I liked his with the braids. I thought that was pretty cool. But in Dimebag, was trying out. He was about to sign with Jackson Records, and he was playing a Warrior guitar. And then he chose not to be with Jackson Records. And I'm not sure if it was right then, but it was later on that he moved to Washburn Records. I mean,
Yeah.
guitars. Sorry, how many times did I say records? Guitars.
About 3.
Yeah.
Them triple bourbons catching up with you a little bit.
Maybe not. I feel pretty good, but that was just dumb.
Indeed. I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like he was with Jackson Guitars, and
Right.
Jackson Guitars, like with God, what was his name in Slayer? Not Kerry King, but the other dude.
Hanneman?
Yeah, Jeff Hanneman. Jeff Hanneman played Jackson like a dinky S-shaped guitar, and with Dave Mustaine for the Rust in Peace album, played Jackson guitars. Marty Friedman played a Kelly Jackson guitar, and so to see Dimebag with that guitar, and I had just played some S-shaped amazing fucking Jackson guitar right before I went and saw the show. And so when I saw him playing a Jackson Warrior, I was like, unholy shit, that's so cool.
Right.
And it was like desert camouflage.
Yeah.
Was so cool. I was like, oh, I want that fucking guitar. And now that's my favorite guitar. I have the Dave Davidson Jackson Warrior with the
Nice.
swamp ash veneer on the top with a mahogany body. It's such a good guitar.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. And Cody also says even live now his vocals are fucking amazing. That's because he really kind of beefed up his vocals for this. He did a lot of training.
Yeah.
Because for a minute there, after going from Scour to, Super Joint Ritual to Down, I mean, that dude stressed his fucking voice out. So it's really cool to see that he's been able to maintain it, because people were actually really concerned because when he did a vulgar display of Pantera with the Illegals, it was what the hell was that? Oh, it was a live stream. So it was back, during pandemic times. Didn't sound that hot. Had a hard time hitting that shit. And that's because the dude never rests. He just goes from one band to the next band to the next band to the next band. So for him to be going from Pantera back to Down, since they're in the studio, they've already recorded some material. Dude, now that his voice is back in full bloom, that shit is gonna be awesome. So couldn't think of a better record to end the evening with. As always, we thank you all so much, and hopefully take away from this some bands, some records that really help define a lot of different decades as far as originality, upping the metal game to new heights, no matter what subgenre it was. So, a lot of you out there are hardcore addicts. You guys know these albums. You know that they belong there. Shit. But for those of you tuning in that maybe haven't checked some of these bands out, we urge you to do so, because they're iconic records for a reason. So
a few more that are pretty big albums that need mentioning that we just didn't have the time for. Like, I have a long list of all of these things.
Trust me, I got more myself.
February 2nd, 1981, Iron Maiden released Killers. Fear Factory in 2010 had Gene Hoglan, and they released Mechanize. That's a great album. St. Vitus.
Of course, Gene was on it.
Yep. St. Vitus on February 6, 1984 released their self-titled Vitus. Nevermore released their self-titled Nevermore on February 14th, 1995. Another big band. Sepultura on February 1996 released Roots. And we have, oh, this is one I really wanted to bring up because I fucking love Paul Bear. Paul Bear on February 21st, 2012, released Sorrow and Extinction. They have such a melodic, clean, beautiful, sorrowful form of doom metal. If you like doom metal, check out some Paul Bear out of Arkansas with Babylon Sun. Oh my God, I fucking forgot. Immortal at the Heart of Winter. That was released on February 2nd, 1999. Fucking amazeballs album. Power Trip in 2017 released an amazing album. Something Made Flesh. I forgot that one. I didn't write everything down. 1998, Morbid Angel. Didn't have David Vincent anymore, but they brought in Steve Tucker on bass and vocals, and they released Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. Another fucking amazeballs fucking album. And there's more that I just didn't even write down. There's so many good ones. We didn't hit them all. If you know any of them, please put them down in the comment section. I would love to.
Absolutely. We always enjoy and love the feedback. Most def. So again, thanks for choosing us here on Tracks of the Damned for your Mommy Milkers Monday, because apparently that's what we're going to call it from here on out, since, the addicts in the comment section have pretty much dubbed it that. So I guess we'll hold on to that. And choosing us for your Monday night entertainment after a shit fucking piss poor day. As it has been for most of us. So definitely some things to look forward to. I think there's a Reapers Underground later on this week, so stay tuned to my page for that. And then, of course, we'll be back next Monday for your enjoyment. And happy early Valentine's Day to some of y'all. I'm sure you enjoyed our presentation on love last Saturday. Boy, that was a fuck of a conversation, wasn't it? So if you missed it, go back, check it out. It's hilarious. You'll absolutely love it. But as always, be good to each other. Check out new stuff. And if you haven't revisited an old favorite, go back and do it, because you gotta always stay heavy.